All right, it's 6:30. Let's get this meeting started. Please mute or turn off your phones. First off, Happy New Year. Yeah. All right. Second, as everyone, hopefully, if you're not new, you know that past that exit sign and to the left, you have to go all the way down and to the left is the bathroom. So if you need to go, just go ahead and stand up. No problem. Second, the burritos are from La Vera Cruzana in Santa Clara. It's sort of by El Camino and Monroe. It's one street down on Jackson. So you know where the KFC is? You go one street, if you're going from here up to there, one street to the right, and it's right there. So that's where these are from. All right. That being said, you guys are all in sweaters and jackets, and I'm here in a t-shirt. And the reason why was I got here and there were no chairs. And normally the guy's Tim, he's awesome. He usually sets everything up. And there were no chairs, so I gave him a call, but I couldn't get a hold of him. So I said, all right, these chairs, there's little holders and they're stacked like a dozen high or so. So I wheeled it out to this little elevator. Well, the elevator doesn't work. So I had to undo them, set them on the stage, pull them from the stage, put them on the floor, slide them and line them all up, and eventually other board members came and helped me. But that is why I'm in a t-shirt, because, and I'm going to just apologize to the front row. My deodorant gave out like half an hour ago. So I'm really sorry. Really. All right. I don't see the police chief here, so we're going to have to jump forward to Michael Mulcahy. I see, oh, wait a minute. He just came in. Woo-hoo! He's a master of surprise. I like it. You did it. Everyone, please welcome our new San Jose Police Chief, Chief Joseph.
All right. Well, there you go. Look, there's me. And more importantly, there's your captain, Ken Tran. So, Kenny. So one of the first things that I did when I became the permanent chief, which was in late October, was make a bunch of very necessary promotions. From the time that Chief Mata announced he was leaving the department in January last year until I actually became the permanent chief in October, we were kind of on hold. And so we had a lot of people doing double duty and filling in and in acting roles. And I think it's really important to have some stability and to have some long-term consistency. And the captains are really key to all that. As you'll remember with Randy Torres and I think Brian Spears before that, and Brian Shab before that, and actually me before Brian Shab. Your captain is really your touch point for the department. They're the ones that are going to be at all your meetings, that are going to answer all your questions, that are going to be your liaison, if you will, to the department. So anyway, promoting Kenny Tran was one of my first official acts and probably one of my best decisions. So I know you guys will enjoy working with him. As far as kind of my plan for the future, every challenge we have at San Jose PD ultimately comes back to an issue of staffing. And so I know you guys hear this a lot, but I'm just going to kind of walk us through where we're at and what we're trying to do about it. The average police department in the United States of America has 2.2 police officers per 1,000 population. That's an average, okay? And so we have a population here of about 1 million people, a little bit less, and we have an authorized strength of 1,172. So you could see we're around maybe half of where we ought to be. More troubling than that, however, is that we're really struggling right now to recruit and retain police officers. Now, that's not just us. That's every police department across the country since 2020. There is a staffing crisis in law enforcement everywhere. But for us, any vacancies really hit us hard because we're so thinly staffed to begin with. So right now, today, I think the number is we have 1,035 police officers. Okay, that means I have 140 vacant positions. Now, we're going to make job offers, I think, to 33 folks to start an academy next month. So that'll add, 33 more employees to the department. But you could see, it's a struggle. And let me just say, first of all, especially with Councilmember Mulcahy standing in the back, that this is not a lack of will on the part of City Hall to give us officers. I know that one of the toughest things for all of us, for myself, for the council member, for the mayor, is that we're just having a really hard time bringing people on board. So they want us to have more cops. We want to have more cops, and we're doing everything we can to get them. And so if you know people who you think would be good police officers, who are committed to serving this community and are of good character and are willing to work hard, please, please, please ask them to apply. And I think they'll find it to be a really rewarding career. But in the meantime, got 1,035 cops. How am I going to police this big city? Well, I think there's 3 things that we need to do. And you said I have slides. You're not running like slides behind me. They're totally different than what I'm saying, right? Okay.
I never got any.
Okay, very good.
I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure the slides aren't a complete other subject. There's 3 things that we need to do to work through having 1,035 cops. The first one is we've got to lean into technology everywhere we can to make us more efficient, more effective. And luckily for us, there are many new technology programs coming along that do help us do exactly that. So a couple of years ago, we launched our automated license plate reader camera program. That was one of the most impactful technology projects we've ever taken on in the police department. So what these cameras do, they're placed at strategic intersections throughout the city, and every car that goes through just snaps a picture of the license plate. But what that does is 2 things. One, if a vehicle is wanted in the system, in other words, if it's reported stolen or if it's involved in a crime in some manner, we will get an automatic notification and we can go out and try to locate the car in real time. But what it really does for us and how it's most beneficial is it creates a database of these license plates and these vehicle descriptions, and our detectives use these. We've solved more crimes than I can even begin to tell you with the data that is collected from these cameras. So that has been a huge boon for us, and those are the kind of projects we want to continue with. Our big project, our big technology project this year is to stand up what we call a real-time intelligence center. What is that? Sounds ominous. All it really is like a dispatch center with more information to put out to the police officers in the field when they're going to a call for service. So how are we going to get this information? A couple different places. One is we're using some software that now kind of combines all of our different databases that we search and puts them all in one handy location so that you can more quickly get the information you need about a person, a place, a situation. Secondly, we're going to be able to now get the feeds. Well, we've already been able to get feeds from the Department of Transportation cameras that you see at the intersections all around town, but those cameras don't record. It's just a live feed, and so if you don't happen to be watching a particular camera at the instant it picks up something, you'll never know it was there, and there's no way to retrieve it. We now will be able to do both of those things. So if a call comes out at Heading and Monroe, we're going to get that information, and we're going to be able to, if there's a camera there, dial into that camera, take a look, go back maybe a minute or 2, see what we see, and then put that information out to the officers responding to the call. So I think it's going to both help us catch the bad guy and help us avoid stopping the not bad guy, because sometimes we do that. Sometimes we're using our best intentions. We stop somebody that we think was involved in a crime, and it turns out they were not, and that leads to some negative interactions with the police. So anyway, technology, and City Hall's very supportive on all those things. Second thing we need to do is make greater use of our professional staff. Our professional staff are non-sworn. So police officers are important and we need more of them, but we also need people like our community service officers who do many of the police officer functions minus the enforcement. So they're not arresting people, they're not writing tickets, but they are investigating crimes where the suspect is no longer there, they're directing traffic, they're collecting physical evidence. So they're really useful to us, super helpful, and we haven't seemed to have as much trouble recruiting them. We have crime analysts in our Bureau of Investigations who can do a lot of the important legwork that's necessary in a lengthy criminal investigation, but they don't have to have all the training and all the different things that are necessary to be a police officer to do that work. So greater use of professional staff. The last thing that we need to do to kind of work through the staffing crisis is we need to find work that we do right now, calls for service that we respond to right now, that can be responded to by another entity. And hopefully that's an entity that's better trained, better equipped, and more appropriate than the police. So the 3 areas I think where there's the greatest opportunity for that are calls for service involving persons in mental health crisis. calls for service involving chronic substance abuse issues, calls for service involving the homeless. We're not necessarily the best at dealing with all those, although I think we do a really good job. We go to some 370,000 calls, I think, last year, and the overwhelming majority of these calls are handled completely without incident. But every now and then, they're very unpredictable. Something doesn't go exactly as we might hope, and and we wish for it to be better. So if there's somebody else that can do this work, we're all for it. Now that's somewhat dependent on other entities being available to do it. And right now, we're constantly working with our partners in the county, our partners at various social service providers in the city, non-government organizations, to find these alternate responders. So it's just a matter of us being creative and some of these other resources being available. But that's really the key. That's really the key going forward. All that said, we have an unbelievable police department that just does incredible work, particularly with what we've got. You may have seen in the paper last week that we just broke up a burglary ring down near the Paseo de Saratoga area. Now, these guys were coming from out of town, and they were specifically targeting AAPI households. They would case a neighborhood, decide which houses they believed there were Asian people living in, and then do burglaries. And as we started unraveling this thing, we realized these were happening not just in our city, but in the sheriff's jurisdiction, in the city of Mountain View, in the city of Campbell, and we all worked together, and we ended up arresting a number of people, and we have, the investigation is ongoing, but we recovered a lot of stolen property and a lot of really things that were really important to people, because what they were taking was jewelry items and things that were family heirlooms and mementos and really had emotional significance besides just the monetary value. So that's just one example of the kind of work that San Jose police officers do every day. I'm honored, proud, humbled, in disbelief that I'm your chief of police, but really excited. Not something I ever thought I would do or even aspire to, but here I am. I've been here 30 years. They'll someday drag me kicking and screaming away from this and tear the uniform off me, but I'm going to keep going until they do that. Super excited to work with your new council member Mulcahy. I know I've known him from before when I was the Western captain and we met, and I know he's a big supporter of law enforcement, will be a big supporter for you guys. So with that, I don't know if you want me to do Q&A or you want me
we
to...
have that one question ahead of time that was it's on the screen. Well, what is the crime rate for our neighborhood and surrounding areas? Are they adequately staffed to respond in a timely manner? Thank you.
Sure. So I'm going to let your captain talk about some of the particulars about crime rate. Are they adequately staffed to respond in a timely manner? We do the best we can, getting to the calls for service. We prioritize based on, obviously danger to life, potential for injury, seriousness of the crime. Is the offender there now? The more serious crimes, we use the GPS in every patrol car to dispatch the closest unit wherever that unit may be. So we do everything we can to get to the calls as quickly as we can. It's not always as quickly as we or you might like, but we're doing everything possible.
There was one thing that wasn't ahead of time, but last week an administrative woman got arrested for drug trafficking within the union or something like that. I don't remember all the details about that, but do you have any other details about that that is relevant to us or that we should know about?
All I'll say is that was not a police officer. That was never a police officer. That was not an employee of the San Jose Police Department. That was never an employee of the San Jose Police Department. Other than that, I'll reserve my comments. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Morgan. I live right off Monroe, so our home base is Monroe. I'm really interested in hearing about the employment of new technology. I've personally witnessed about 4 or 5 serious car accidents because of the speed on Monroe. And by serious, I mean hitting the homes, entering residential parcels. Our home was hit in 2023. Our neighbor across the street last week. I've seen flipped cars. I've seen cars up on people's lawns. I mean, the speed's out of control. And I've even noticed more like 18-wheelers going down the road. I don't know if there's a tonnage limit on Monroe, but there is no light between Newhall and Heading, and it becomes a speedway in that area. So I'm not sure San Jose employs speed cameras yet, but if they do, I would petition that you prioritize Monroe to use those speed cameras. I've seen the trailers parked on Monroe that indicate what your speed is, but obviously the people who are speeding know they are speeding and don't care. So I think it's a real safety issue for the homes on that area. That whole stretch is residential. I don't really see a reason that commercial vehicles should be flying down that road. So I would be surprised if you guys didn't know there's a speed issue on Monroe, and I would really like you and our city council person to address that.
All right, well, so I will have Captain Trent talk with you afterwards to coordinate getting our traffic enforcement unit out here, our motor officers, but to talk about the technology issue that you raised. So we are piloting 2 things this year, speed cameras and red light cameras. I don't know if the speed cameras are in that exact location, and I don't know the answer to your question about whether or not large commercial vehicles can be on that street. But we are piloting both of those things. Initially, the speed cameras were not allowed under state law, but the legislature passed a law that allowed a pilot program in several cities, and luckily San Jose is one of those cities. So hopefully that's another opportunity for us to be more efficient without having to increase our staffing. So we're hopeful for those programs. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're in charge.
Yeah. I've already been informed, he needs to go, there's another meeting, so Captain Tran's gonna take over. All right, so-
Thank you, Chief. Hey, Tim, come on up here. Sergeant Wilson, come on up. You're the face of the district out here. Good evening. Thank you for having us here. My name is Ken Tran. I'm a newly promoted captain for Western Division. Just a little bit about myself. I've been with the department for 25 years. I'm a first-generation immigrant from Vietnam. Born and raised in Vietnam, came here when I was 12, and have been living the American dream since then. So I've been involved in the community. Said before I was a police officer, so I'm looking forward to be working with all of you. I know you have a lot of questions about what's been going on in the neighborhood the past few months, past quarter. You brought up really good questions about traffic issues out here. So I think you will be happy with what I have to report out. I'll tell you this. So I pull stats for us. You know, we talk about technology, right? Everything we do is data driven. So I pull stats for this neighborhood past 3 months, from October to November and December. And there has been about 237 what we call CAT events or police events out here. Out of those 237 events for the past 3 months, the biggest cause that you have are what we call low priority 3 and 4 events. These are what we call a welfare check. Someone's driving by, they see someone on the street, look like they might be intoxicated or they may not be well, they call it in and say, hey, can you come by and check on this person? That is about 12% of the calls that we receive out here in this neighborhood. The next highest number we have out here are your disturbance. That could be a couple of people get into an argument or something and someone call it in. That's about 9% of your call for service out here. The other 9% are your vehicle accidents, right? And then the next number that we have is 3% of suspicious persons. If you add all that, that doesn't even equal up to 50%. Do you want to know what's the number one, the highest calls that you have out here? It's like 54% of all the police activities out here are. It's actually us doing traffic enforcement. Officers out here on foot, officers out here making vehicle stops, officers out here doing traffic enforcement. 54%. So you think about it, in 3 months, 90 days, you have 237 calls of service out here. You divide it by 90 days, that's about 2.5 calls a day. If 50% of those are us being out here doing enforcement, that means you have someone calling in to have us check on someone else's welfare, and then you have police officers out here doing proactive police work, whether they're walking out in the neighborhood on foot or they're doing traffic enforcement out here. And I think that's great. So that's what's being going on around the neighborhood as far as crime stats.
What do you mean by traffic enforcement?
That's either our traffic enforcement or motor vehicles out here. They're doing the citing people for speeding, for stop signs. On Monroe Street, they're doing enforcement. That's 54% of the call for service that we have out here in your neighborhood. That's a lot. So So to answer your questions that you raised up earlier, we are out here, we are being proactive, we are doing enforcement, traffic enforcement.
Okay, my question was really, can we prioritize using technology to help cut that down? Not are you doing it?
Right, yeah, absolutely. Like, how are we doing that? By you guys reporting it in, and then we pull the data, we know where the hot areas are at, and then we deploy our resources. So with that, I'll answer any questions anybody may have.
Way back.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk a little bit about vehicle theft? I know we had some vehicle thefts in our neighborhood. In fact, the car next to our house was stolen on Cherry Stone. We also had, in January, we had a car on the other side of us on Cherry Stone that was stolen last fall. Some folks around the corner from us. So we have seen vehicle thefts in the neighborhood, and I don't know what the likelihood that there'll be ever to find out what happened, but I don't know if you have staff or what's the best way for us to handle that?
As far as protecting yourself,
Yeah.
well, you think about this, a lot of these crimes that happens, vehicle theft, residential burglaries, it's a lot of it is this crime of opportunities, right? These guys, they see an opportunity, they take it. So anything that you can do to protect yourself, have better lighting on your driveways, have installed cameras, obviously it at least deterred from happening. And at least it's if they walk down the street, they see you have lights, you have cameras on your driveway. They're more likely to keep walking and find another victim that maybe doesn't have enough lighting or doesn't have security cameras. So what you can do is to protect yourself is you do what you can to not present the opportunity for these criminals. Yes, sir.
So, on Saturday, there was the safety summit, I think it was called, and there was talk about when you have a camera, to register it with San Jose Police Department. Can you talk about that? I just walked this neighborhood and knocked on every door sitting here today. Everybody has cameras, and is there an opportunity, maybe to the point we were just talking about, to have that help us be more vigilant by registering the cameras?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So we have a program, registration camera program. It's called SJ Cam. What that does is allows you to register your cameras with us, and all this is you telling us, hey, I live here at this address. I have security cameras. I have this number of cameras outside, and this is how you can contact me, my phone number, my email. So let's say something happens at the corner of Monroe and this intersection right here. When something major happened, instead of us having to come out and walk the neighborhood to find cameras, we can go on SJ Cam and look at the map and see where the cameras that are registered at, and we can contact you directly without having to come up to your house. We can call you, email you, and have you look at your cameras and see, hey, did your camera capture anything? If it did, then we'll send an officer to come out and collect the evidence. It does not give us access to your camera system. All it does is provide us, hey, I live here at this address. I have security cameras. If you need something, contact me. This is who I am. This is how you contact me. That's all it does. It does not give us access, and we do not have access to your camera systems. That's what it is.
So speaking of that, and to piggyback on it with technology, are you aware of any programs to join together with technology companies that could provide subsidies to residents so that an entire community could have cameras, whether they're Ring cameras or Comcast, so that we can show the difference in apprehension rates or in deterrence by having a community that is prepared?
You know, we did have a program like that. We were able to obtain a grant that allowed us to purchase cameras, and we would give it out to businesses, residences to install them. And we did have that. I think the program ended maybe a month or two ago, and I'm hoping in the future we can obtain more grants to continue that program.
Okay, last question.
Okay, so the captain mentioned that there was an arrest for the
The burglary string that we have?
Exactly. How long are they actually staying behind bars? Because it never seems, I mean, if the consequences of the crime is not significant enough and they know that they're gonna get out pretty easily, they're gonna continue that behavior. So what, can you talk a little bit about, are they being, how do you prevent them from doing the burglaries if they're not suffering the consequences?
No, that's great questions. I could tell you, a lot of times it's case by case. Like, it's how many charges are they facing? What's the criminal histories like? Did they have priors? Do they have a prior strike? In this particular case that we had, one of the suspects had 2 prior strikes. So because of this case, he was facing 72 counts of residential burglary. So he's facing life, 15 years to life. But then again, it all depends on what the criminal history is like. It's case by case, and the number of cases that we have on them. So I can't give you a blanket answer. It's all case by case.
But didn't Newsom sign up in the law to enforce stifter, yeah, exactly.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if he did.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it?
Yeah.
It's just gonna intermediate in between.
You want me to say it?
Yeah.
All right, well, as you know, we had a holiday showcase.
Last year.
Well, this is last year's. That's why you should be up here. All right, this is last year's. You see the best, there's only 2 prizes, best house and best tree. And what we're showing last year's of the best house and the best tree, and further down we're gonna have the best house and the best tree for this year. All right?
And there's just a couple pictures random from the neighborhood.
So get into the spirit next time. You wanna decorate, you may win a prize. All right, next up is our new city council member, Michael Mulcahy.
Thanks, Art. Good evening. Thank you for having me here. I have spent the last year plus campaigning and have been, I think, at all but one of the neighborhood association meetings that you host. And I will say, you always have the best turnout. Now, Art says it's because he brings food. But it's absolutely apparent, having walked and talked to so many of you over the last year, that it really is about your belief in your neighborhood, and that you love it and you want to protect it and see it flourish. So thank you for being so engaged. It's really helpful for those of us on this side who are trying to improve and make change in your neighborhood and address your issues, to have an engaged neighborhood. So thank you for that, and look forward to continuing to be here. I've been in office since January 6th. I was actually sworn in on January 14th. I have 5 staff members who are now on the ground with me. One of them is right here, Joey Morrow. Joey knows, yep, give Joey a round of applause. Joey knows this area very well. He was the field director for my campaign. So he knows addresses, street names, and lots of things about your neighborhood that have really helped us navigate both the campaign and now as your city council member. And so there are 4 others besides Joey, and so I can assure you that we will be present at these meetings moving forward. Whether it's me personally, and I'll do my best to be here, my staff will definitely be here as well. Like this evening, I came from another neighborhood or a business association meeting, and after this, going to go to a Save Our Trails meeting as well, but wanted to make sure to be here to introduce myself to those of you I don't know directly and tell you a few of the things that we're sort of focused on, including being present. As you can imagine, coming in from a council member who has been in this position for 8 years, there are a lot of relationships that you have had with my predecessor. There's also a lot of information that we know about some of the things that you've been challenged with. Couple that with a year of campaigning and talking to people directly at their doorsteps, we have a lot of information as well. So you're concerned about the traffic on Monroe? Absolutely. And I will be unforgiving about people getting traffic tickets, because I do believe we have people speeding fast all over the city. And especially with cars you can't even hear anymore, it's gotten even more doubly unsafe in that regards. So you'll have a proponent here in trying to stem the issues with speeding and pedestrian safety for sure. I told Art that we wouldn't have a lot of Q&A tonight because I've been in office for 3 weeks. But what I would do in just a moment, I want to address one other kind of key issue which I know is on everybody's mind. But if you have a question that I can't answer, Joey's going to come around. You can ask the question. If I don't have the answer, he's going to come around, get your name, name, contact info, and we will circle back with you. And then whether Art and Kirk have an opportunity to get it back to the group, we can do that, or I can tell you what the answer was the next time that I come here. I know probably one of the things that's on your mind is the Winchester development. So I've been obviously following that project since it became apparent that that was a possibility. The concerned Cory neighbors I've been in contact with all through my campaign, and still today I receive their newsletters. So I obviously know the nervousness and the concern about that. So let me just take you through one important piece of this. So that project has to go through a general plan amendment. And in the old days, 2-ish years ago, a developer could come in with pretty pictures, show it, make their application, and get a general plan amendment. Not that it was an easy process, but it was less stringent than it is today. What drove the change that I'll describe for you in a moment is the fact that we have a lot of undeveloped properties in San Jose by opportunistic landowners who buy a piece of property, take it through an entitlement, which had a pretty low hurdle by today's standard, and then they would wait for the market. And if the market was right, they could flip it. And if the market was not, like it is today, which has created a lot of the challenges with blight that we have throughout the city, and specifically, in my view, throughout our district. West San Carlos is a good example. Across the street from Santana Row, you've got the old, for those old timers, the old Magic Pan site, which was then Khan's Garden, right? That's sort of a good example of these blighted conditions created by this kind of old rule. Now today, the developer of that property that we're talking about has to go through a much more difficult hurdle. Today, in order to get a general plan amendment, you're going to have to go through CEQA. You're going to have a fully developed plan. For a site like that, for a project like that, we are talking about hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars without any commitment or understanding that you're going to get approved. So it's a very high hurdle for the developer now to be able to go through a process to get a general plan amendment. And they're going for a pretty high hurdle for transit residential. And I know there's some smart people in this room who have been working with the neighbors group who know what that means. And I would just say there's no real available transit adjacent to that property. So that's a pretty high hurdle for that project to go through. But nonetheless, they have the right to go through that project, and they are. If they are not considered as a special case, and I'll tell you what that means, this likely doesn't come up for a vote by my colleagues and I until October of 2026. A lot of time between now and then. Now, the city does have the right through the planning department to pull that project up sooner for consideration, to both knowing how much consternation there is in the neighborhood, and also knowing that putting the neighborhood through that whole process could be very difficult. I don't have a say in that, And I don't have any indication that that will happen, but that is a possibility, just to sort of give you an indication on that timeline. So I understand the concerns. I've heard them. Your organized neighbors have been very active about it, so I'm aware of it. But I just wanted to address sort of that front end stuff so you had a better understanding of kind of where we're at in the process and the development cycle. So with that, if there's any specific questions about that, or I'm not sure I can be more informational about it. Yes, Ms. Hayes?
Hello,
Hi,
nice to see you.
nice to see you.
I have to say, we don't trust this developer. You know that they have abandoned the Delmas Village housing project. There was a notice, a written notice by the city on the 21st of this month to protect the perimeter and to secure the building there. That was done. It's open again.
Yes.
So there's, again, in violation of what the city is asking them to do to protect us in the neighborhood. That's a real problem as far as we're concerned.
I understand. And so what she's referring to is the condition of the property today, similar to what I was describing a bit before about sort of blight with these properties that are in transition. I know it's been an ongoing problematic site for many years. It is on code enforcement's list. They give me a kind of a cut sheet of some of the higher issues and problems throughout the district, and that's one of them. So I understand that, and we're trying to push code enforcement to make sure that we come to some remedy on the current condition of the site, for sure.
Even today,
Um,
it's a problem again today.
no, I understand. I'm saying that I am fully aware that it's a problem as we're sitting here right now. Yes. Yes, sir.
As you were speaking, you made I might have misinterpreted a comment about it being something that there can be special cases. Did you then explain what the special cases were and I missed it, or did you not get into that?
Well, what I said is that it's when the city created a more stringent process, they've left themselves an out. And so I don't suspect and I don't know that it is or is not being considered at the moment. I'm just making sure that as I described the most likely situation, that there is that opportunity.
Is that special case to move the timetable earlier?
Well, it would essentially, typically if you're going for a general plan amendment, you have one time a year you have to apply, and there's lots of conditions now in order to meet that. So like, for example, they have to go through CEQA. No chance you could get there in October of 2025, which is why it's most likely that it happens another year from now. The city could decide to pull that forward to consider it sooner than that period of time.
Given the planning committee's view on this project, as I heard in a Zoom meeting last month, how much weight does their opinion pertain to this issue?
You're talking about the staff consideration. There was a community meeting. Is that what you're?
No, we had a Zoom meeting a month or so ago, and the city planning, I think it was the city planning commission, or the city planners, said that this was not in line with the type of plan that they had chosen, and we're going to recommend against it.
Ms. Hayes, was that the community meeting with the, right? Right, that's, yeah. They have a lot of input. I mean, the staff report and the staff really working through the planning process and how it applies to the general plan, to all of those established city policies have a lot to do with what the ultimate recommendation would be. But it's premature because CEQA's not done. The full vetting of a plan is not put forward, right? So that's a little premature too. I'm going to take one more, if that's okay. You got the speed one earlier, so I'm going to go to the person behind you. Hi, yes, you.
I just want to clarify
I'm sorry, I figured everybody walking in the door tonight had an opinion and knew exactly what I was talking about. So yes, that is the site we're talking about. Okay, that was a good softball ending. So I'll tell you, if there's anything that comes up afterwards, our office is District 6 at sanjoseca.gov. It's right there. And we have heard from some of you already. We want to hear from you, and we're going to do our best to make sure to get back to you in a timely fashion. And Joey is here as well, so if there's something that didn't get on our radar, you're welcome to just do it tonight and talk to Joey. So thank you so much. Thank you to Art and Kurt for always running such a great meeting. And I'm going to turn you over to your county supervisor, Susan Ellenberg.
He's taking my job. What's up with that? All right, well, you already know. The county supervisor, Susan Ellenberg, is coming up. And she's got a whole PowerPoint here to see. So sit back. Oh, wait a minute. We got more trees. We do. As you know, in downtown San Jose, they have Christmas in the park. And what we do is we sponsor a tree and then we decorate it. And we have a whole decorating committee. If you want to be on that, just let me know. I'll put you in touch with them. But it won't happen until next year. Well, at the end of this year. But that's our tree. And right now the members are Kathy Mole, Linda Brennan, and Sarah Brennan. So that's the team, but you can always join. Okay? Yep. All right. Now we can ask Susan.
Well, I'll tell you, I am very impressed with my new council member. Thank you, Councilmember Mulcahy. It really sounds like we are in excellent hands. And let me just say, I never want that job. I'm so happy. At the county, I appreciate that you, or at least Art, has invited me back for I think the 5th or 6th year now to present my year in review, which I really enjoy doing. I'll give you a spoiler at the end if you want to hear about what's coming up in this year. And as you can imagine, it's very different from the last couple of years. Would love for you to join me at my State of the District on February 6th. And I think the last slide has some info about that. But I think that's where we're starting. Okay. So I have just finished 2 years of being the board president. I am much more chill and relaxed now as the past president. But what I would love to do is share with you some highlights over the last year, particularly in the 4 priority policy areas that I have been working on really since I first got into this office. And then I'm happy to answer questions about those or any other things that you want to talk about. Let's go to the next slide.
Hang on a second.
Okay.
Hang on. I don't know what happened. Bear with me. Bear with me. I don't know. Hang on. Hang on.
There we go.
Excellent. All right. One area of work that I have been deeply engaged in, I am just calling the children's agenda to encompass a lot of things, and we'll talk in a little bit more detail about those. Next slide, please. Funding for programs supporting children, youth, and families increased by 9.1% in fiscal 23-24, and most of that money, interestingly, came from federal and state revenue sources. That money increased faster than the rest of our budget. As I said, a lot of things are going to be different this year. I wouldn't anticipate that happening again. But it was an exciting year, and we did a lot of good things with those dollars, which I'll share with you. Next slide, please. Some of the highlights included a $6 million investment for advocacy and flexible support services. This was an initiative that was spearheaded by the Office of Gender-Based Violence Prevention to ensure that children who are impacted by gender-based violence received support that they needed. We invested $12.6 million in the Amigos Motel Shelter program that provides a safe and stable environment where families facing homelessness can access services and work toward long-term housing solutions. $7.5 million went into the rapid rehousing program, helping children and families transition quickly from homelessness to permanent housing. Next slide, please. I was able to secure my colleagues' support for what I call the Children's Roadmap to Recovery following the pandemic. The referral, the initiative was started in 2022. That led to the creation and implementation finally in 2024 of a number of programs that supported very young children and their families. The first was an early learning workforce initiative. We invested $10 million, including $5 million from ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act dollars. Significantly, those are one-time dollars. So we invested them with First Five Santa Clara County to create and implement a paid apprenticeship program for people that wanted to become child care providers. They were paid to participate in the program and they were given child care access during the program. We are now in our second cohort. We graduated our first cohort from Mission College with, I think, about 30 participants. And we are working on our second right now. Next slide, please. We also directed $15 million from ARPA to help child care providers open, reopen, or expand their operations. I know you've heard me talk a lot about the importance of expanding access to child care. This is particularly important as a poverty alleviation method, as a way to increase worker productivity, increase retention, overall building our economy. And I always say, and only somewhat jokingly, that I need people who don't have children and people who don't like children to understand that childcare is a public good. But if we're going to provide childcare, we need to have enough teachers. So that was part of our incentive with the apprenticeship program, and we need to have facilities. And several hundred facilities closed during the pandemic. Some reopened, some didn't. So we made a very flexible grant program for facilities that had closed to be able to reopen, facilities that stayed open but wanted to expand, renovate, improve, remodel. Their sites were eligible, and new facilities, new organizations that wanted to create child care facilities applied also. We're going to be doing a press conference sometime in February to announce all of the recipients and show some of the work that is happening. I'm super excited about that. Next slide. We invested in school-based wellness centers in an effort to address mental health challenges that our youth were experiencing prior to the pandemic. Pandemic brought a lot of issues, and right now there's a lot of kind of new fear and anxiety sources as well. And we know that children and teens are 21 times more likely to access mental health services if they're available on their campuses. So the county and private philanthropy partners launched a $13.2 million grant program to expand wellness centers at our middle schools and high schools. 40 schools received funding, 28 for new wellness centers, and 12 were to expand existing centers. Next slide, please. Second major area of work that I continue to be involved in is mental health, specifically expansion of services for serious mental illness and substance use disorders. Next slide. Do you have the slides numbered?
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
Are we on slide 9?
9?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Back in 2022, with partnership from Vice President Otto Lee, we led our colleagues in declaring a public health crisis in mental illness and substance use disorders, not because we just figured out that that was a problem, but by naming the crisis. This had the impact of addressing the issue to the top of our county executive's priority list. So since then, we have been really focused, and we get reports every single month on what are we doing to expand beds, to expand treatment slots, and again, workforce issues. So since that time, slide 10, next slide please, we have increased capacity for non-law enforcement-led adult mobile mental health crisis, trusted response urgent support team. Have you all heard of TRUST? Has anybody heard of TRUST? Oh, I'm so glad I'm here. TRUST is a non-law enforcement mobile responder. If you call, let me back up a space. Have you heard of 988? Please raise your hand if you're familiar with what 988 is. Okay, scant few of you. 988 is a crisis, both hotline and warm line number that you can call for someone who is in a mental health crisis rather than calling 911. Because we want our police officers to be available to respond to crimes or harm in progress and not necessarily people in crisis. when you call 988, there are 4 different mobile options that might be dispatched. The first option is maybe the issue can be de-escalated on the phone, or somebody can be directed to services the next day. But if there needs to be a crisis response, trust comes with no law enforcement, which often increases Pathway Society. Hopefully that will be open in the next 6 months. We've added a total, our goal from 2022, our goal is 500 beds by 2028. We have added 181 as of today at multiple levels of acuity, and the pipeline includes 234 beds currently in development. That's not quite at 500, but it's not quite 2028 yet. My goal is that anybody who needs treatment for a serious mental illness or a substance use disorder can get it on the day they ask for it. Not waiting in jail for 3 weeks, not waiting in community and then changing your mind, not being told there's a wait list, or please call back tomorrow, which is hard to do when you're in crisis. Next slide. Third area that I will touch on is criminal justice reform. Again, I've sat as the chair of the Public Safety and Justice Committee since 2019, since joining the board. It's a role I hope to stay in for the rest of my time here. I'm going to share a couple of cool things that are happening right now. Are in our jail right now with the new sheriff. If you haven't met him, and you can invite him to come out here, Bob Johnson is so impressive. He is so committed to public safety and rehabilitation in a way that absolutely minimizes recidivism. His goal is that if people cycle into our jail, that it's a one and done. And one of the ways in which he's doing that is through a program called the College Collaborative System, which is continuing to grow. This is a partnership between the Sheriff's Office and 6 community colleges in the South Bay. They are bringing programs and classes into Elmwood, that secure facility. And when people leave, because they are generally in county jail for a short period of time, they can seamlessly continue those classes at the community college. And somehow that was a new concept that hadn't existed before. But we've got, I think, more than a dozen different courses, ranging from culinary classes to automotive services, technical services. I am sure they're teaching AI too, but I haven't been told that yet. Next slide. We have a program called Pre-Arraignment Representation and Review. That's PAR is the acronym for that. That is meant to have public defenders engage with clients before they are arraigned to make the best determination with the district attorney and with the judge as to whether they actually need to be kept in jail awaiting disposition of their case, or whether they would be better placed in a facility, when we have enough of them, to address mental health needs, substance use disorder needs. Is it an offense such that they're not going to pose a significant harm or any harm to people if they're waiting in the community for their case to be disposed of? And it enables us to do that earlier and faster with folks. This year in our budget, we're actually having some challenges maintaining that program, but I am committed to really remaining an advocate for that. Also, my office is, well, through my office, we're going to be leading a major community engagement process around the building of a new jail, which has been discussed on and off for about 14 years. I put a hold on it a couple of years ago in order to address the mental health crisis first, but we truly, truly do need carceral facilities. The 3 that we have are in horrific condition, and they are absolutely not conducive to rehabilitation, reducing recidivism, or doing anything really other than further traumatizing people. So that is going to be happening soon. Next slide, please. A new bit of work that was started last year but will be rolled out soon is a countywide strategic initiative on violence prevention. I'm doing this in partnership with Supervisor Arenas. And what I think is really significant to know about this program is that it will be run through public health, because the notion of preventing violence is so much broader than just law enforcement. Law enforcement is a piece, but when we think about stable, safe neighborhoods, well-lit streets, people not living in chronic stress and dire poverty, all of the other pieces that we need to put in place so that people are able to live well and thrive, that is a major part of violence prevention. Next slide, and talk about housing. Now, because we still have people who are unhoused. Did you know that? You knew that one. Measure A from 2016, all of those $950 million have been fully allocated. In 2024, 6 developments were completed just in that year, creating 646 affordable housing units. Overall, we have created more than 5,500 units. We have housed more than 17,000 people. I feel like there should be like balloons and streamers happening because that's really significant. 11 cities, 56 projects, 17,000 people, but there are no balloons and streamers because people continue to lose their housing. And we still have so many people on the street. They're not the same people, but it's hard to notice that. Because where we haven't done a good enough job is preventing people from losing their housing in the first place. So I feel like if we could just stem that tide, we really could house probably 85 to 90% of the people who are on the street. There will always be a small sector of people who are just resistant, but if we could take care of everybody else and not have more people lose their housing, you would see that significant progress, and we are going to keep working in that direction. I'll share one specific project in this district that's coming online. It's called The Hub. It's at Parkmore in Meridian. It's going to have 81 units of deeply affordable housing. 40 of them will be designated for former foster youth. There's going to be a community center there, resources for young adults. Super excited about that. If Joey is still here from Michael's team, we need to talk about a street light, a light halfway down Parkmore. Okay, I'm gonna skip up a couple of slides because I think I'm taking too long, but slide 17 talks about a Heading Home campaign focused on getting young families into permanent housing. We have gotten almost 1,200 families into housing. Again, it's hard to see when people are continuing to lose their housing. Let's zip up to slide 19. I'm going to say a very quick word about civic leadership because that's an important part of what we do as well. I served this past year as the second vice president for the California State Association of Counties. That means I spend a lot of time in Sacramento advocating for funding for things that our county needs. I host quarterly informational meetings in Sacramento with all of our state legislators so that they know what's happening here. I do the same quarterly with briefings with all of my local elected colleagues who overlap with District 4. We've hosted Black infant screening panels, a guaranteed income panel. I love to do these kind of screening and learning things, and if you haven't been to them before, please come this year. I think on my last slide, last one, 21, wrap up. That is a QR code, I believe, for the State of the District, which is on February 6th, and we'll have food, and it's at the Campbell Community Center, and you know all the other stuff. Thank you. Okay, Art said I have time for questions, if y'all have any questions. Hi.
Hi. The Wall Street Journal mentioned that Los Angeles County offers training courses for its residents and how to be part of an evacuation team in case of fire or earthquake. Does Santa Clara County offer that kind of thing?
We have the CERT programs. I don't know that they are specifically for evacuation, but they are the community emergency response teams. I don't know if there's one in this area, and if there's not, and this neighborhood association wants to get trained, we can absolutely make that happen.
That was one of the questions that was asking about search.
Oh, cool. That's it? I told you everything else? Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Wait,
oh,
back.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, is the county health department, are they monitoring anything to do with bird flu?
Yes. We monitor all infectious diseases, and I don't have statistics on that. Do you have a specific question about what they're monitoring? And I see Victor already walking to you to make sure we can get your info and let you know. What do you want to know about bird flu?
Well, is the federal government stopping all communications regarding diseases? I just want to make sure that they
we will not stop, and I will make sure that we link in my newsletter to public health pages that give that information. So thank you. No, we are not stopping.
Susan, there was one question that somebody wrote in on. Do you have homeless numbers and shelters available? You touched on it a little bit in your presentation, but do you have any of those numbers handy? Somebody asked in the audience. Or a resident.
Not close enough to estimate, but I think it's around 8,000 in the city of San Jose and probably close to 13,000 county-wide. Are there shelters? Yes, there are shelters. And there generally is availability. It is hard to get people to match where they are and whether a specific shelter is appropriate, congregate, non-congregate. We're trying to get people, and the city of San Jose, I think, is doing some really significant work here, trying to move people out of unsafe areas, particularly along waterways, into some kind of transitional or short-term housing with the goal of long-term permanent housing. The concern that I have right now with the end of Measure A is that there's going to be a pause in building deeply affordable housing. That really concerns me because moving people into temporary housing and then leaving them to languish there, I think will result in squalor and kind of shanty towns of old. So that's really a worry, but it's also, of course, concerning to leave people in creeks and entirely unsheltered. So this continues to be our number one social and environmental and political, frankly, challenge.
Thank you.
Two back there.
What is the county's position and what support do they provide to protect our citizens from unwanted DHS ICE?
So our county has a non-cooperation policy with ICE, which means that unless there is a judicial warrant, we're not breaking laws, unless there is a judicial warrant requiring that a person be turned over, we just don't do any immigration services. We don't ask, it's not our, I shouldn't say we don't do immigration services because we do. We do not ask people about their immigration status because that is not relevant to county services. So our sheriff has made this commitment. I know Chief Joseph in San Jose has made this commitment. If people are being picked up on suspicion of some crime or act of harm, they are not asked about their immigration status. What is at issue is the alleged harm that they caused. So we have a formal non-cooperation. Beyond that, we have a rapid response network, and I think Victor brought their little, did we bring cards, Victor? We did. Okay, awesome. Little red business cards that have the rapid responder network phone number on it, such that if you have one of these cards, you keep one with you and you see what you think is ICE activity, you can call if you want to and report that activity. It will be checked out. And if that is happening, what the rapid responders do is actually descend on that place. They take video. They make sure that people know their rights. You don't have to answer your door. You don't have to answer questions. You don't have to provide papers. But it's terrifying, and it's terrifying to people who are here for 3 generations, but look like an immigrant, or are here legally and lots of other, through lots of other processes, but are worried about being questioned just the same. And our concern, and why we want to make this so clear, is that if people are afraid, they're not going to send their kids to school. They're not going to go to the hospital when they need hospital. They're not going to cooperate with law enforcement if perhaps they are either victims of or witnesses to crimes. They're not going to avail themselves of county services. And then what we have is this underground population that is very scared, very under-resourced, and frankly, very unstable. So I hope that answered your question. We do have information in the back, and if you're interested in becoming a rapid responder, call the number and tell them that you want to help. Yes, sir.
Okay, last question.
Last question.
more of a piece of information for everybody. I teach up in Allen Rock on the east side. Live down here on Kegwood. Our attendance numbers have dropped significantly in the last 3 weeks. It's like I have classes with 25 to 32 kids in them. I'm getting 8, 10 kids absent today in 7 classes. So people in our community are afraid. They're not even sending their kids to school.
And that's also a financial hit because in Allen Rock, when you don't show up, you don't get, the school doesn't get paid, because they get paid on an average daily attendance. So if kids aren't at school, schools get less money, they have fewer resources. It is just a vicious cycle. We need people to not be afraid here. We will follow the laws, but we will not do anything to incite unnecessary additional fear. Thank you very much. I hope you'll join me on February 6th.
Yeah, I'm getting cold now. Cool down. All right, this is the highlights of our holiday showcase contest. Again, this is people who decorate their house and have a tree outside. So these are some of the houses that you can see. Whoa, and we jumped right to, wait a minute, okay, so one of the questions I was asked was we want to talk to Sue Newsom from Valley Fair. We have been trying. We've been in talk. She is traveling. She says, I can't make it. I'm not in town. So I hear your voice. You guys ping me. I send those comments and concerns to Sue, and we try to work with her, but she's really busy. I think Valley Fair is not her only project that she's working on. She has other projects, so she travels a lot. But we did try to get her here. So I hear what you're saying, and hopefully next meeting we'll have her. All right, with that, the guy that always shows up, you all know him, Scott Valley from Santana Rock.
I'm not Sue Newsom. I know Sue Newsom, but I'm not Sue Newsom. I'm going to cover kind of a whole bunch of potpourri of topics, so no particular agenda. If you want to throw the picture of your dog up there, it's okay too. We were asked before we came in to talk a little bit about how holiday went. Sales are back up to an all-time high at beat 2019, and traffic beat 2019. The difference is the restaurants and services were up double digits, where retail was only up single digits. So people are spending more money feeding themselves and more money getting their nails done and their hair done than they are getting new clothes. So whatever that means, I'm not sure. We're just happy the numbers are up both for traffic and sales. We have one big event coming up, February 1st. We have Lunar New Year, Year of the Snake, if you guys are tracking. We'll have the mayor there. We have dragon dancers. You know, it's probably about 3 hours of all kinds of entertainment. It's free. It happens all over Santana Row. Everyone's welcome. We hope there's no rain on that day. Some new stores, if you guys care about them, is Blue Mercury, which is actually a division of Macy's. It's cosmetics. We have Cezanne, which is a Paris boutique that'll be opening up in a few months. Evereve, which is a women's clothing store we've been trying to get for about 3 years, is going to be opening next month. Where the former H&M was, they took half, and then the other half will be a Viore. If you already shop the one we have, it's getting twice as big. So particular for men who like athleisure, they have a huge selections of men athleisure clothes that Lululemon wouldn't have. Last but not least, for stores or food, if you guys like Pizza Antica, which many people do, they're opening a second restaurant, Augustine's, back where we used to have our sign out, if you guys can remember where that is. It's going to be American food, and it should be opening in the next 30 to 35 days. The inside is gorgeous. I mean, the Bacchus Group, who owns it and owns many restaurants in the Bay Area, they really do great jobs. And again, I'll use Pizza Antica, probably one of the nicest pizza places in all of San Jose. You can imagine the restaurant will be that good. Getting out of the retail portion of what I do for a living, Santana West, that little building over on Winchester, 8 stories tall, that 18 months ago had this many tenants in a market that there was no new tenants coming to. Forbes magazine just wrote an article 2 weeks ago about Silicon Valley and used us as the example that we're filling completely up in a market that has no tenants. Part of it is the location. I think we have a phenomenal location. We also decided to really dig down and do great amenities. So we put a cafe in there that's going to have the Good Eating Company. It's the second biggest place who runs cafes inside of office buildings. We're right now choosing the coffee vendor they're going to use. It's between Verve down in Santa Cruz or Sight Glass in San Francisco. We want to have something that isn't really offered here. I mean, we already have a Pete's, we have a Blue Bottle, we have the Starbucks. We want to do something different. We have golf simulators. We have massage chairs. We have cryo chairs. We have heating chairs. Our fitness center there is all Peloton. When you get on, it's all led by classes, even the weight machines. You don't have to think about anything. Because we're doing things like that is why people are coming to our building versus other buildings, which is exactly what we were hoping for, and it's paying off for us. We're pretty excited about that. Talking about having the great location, most of you, or probably a lot of you, either know Cisco or work for Cisco. They bought our Splunk about 1.5 years ago. They moved the employees to North San Jose, and they have a full building at Santana Row. So we were getting prepared that when the lease was up, it'd be coming back to us and we'd be releasing it. The tenants from Splunk went up to to Cisco's offices, and Kurt's heard this story, and told them about how great it was to work down here, and they weren't as excited about working there. They moved their employees down here and they're selling their buildings up there. So we aren't going to get the building back, which is pretty exciting. And now we have Cisco as a tenant right at Santana Row, and Kurt's an alumni of Cisco. And we've had lunch, and every time we're having lunch, people from Cisco stop at the table to say hi to Kurt. One of the other things we just started on Friday, and I'm going to say we, but it wasn't, it was NetApp, our other huge office building. On the ground floor, they have a huge glass wall. And it was doing nothing. It was just a big curved glass wall. And they came to us about 1 year ago and said, we'd like to do this big digital art. And we weren't sure exactly what that meant, but they showed us some great pictures. We trusted it. It wasn't going to be advertising. We turned it on. They turned it on Friday. I recommend you go to it in the daytime because it has one completely different look, and at night it has a but it's probably 50 feet across by 20 feet high. All kinds of digital art, and it gives you depth and movement and everything else. And I thought it was a great addition for the center. And if you know the end of Santana Row, it kind of feels a little bit dead end down there. And now it's kind of a little more vibrant than it used to be. Plus we've added 2 restaurants down there. Last but not least, if you guys are familiar with the east side of Santana Row, we have a parking lot between us and a project called The Villas. It's a large condominium project next to us. We're entitled to put a 250 apartment unit thing there. We submitted our plans in December for our building permit, and we're hoping to get our plans approved first half of this year so we can break ground either summer or late next year if everything pencils out and we don't have any problems with the building department. So we'd be adding 250 more units of housing for San Jose and for Santana Row. So I think with that, that's probably all the new things I have for you. I'll take questions, but I know you guys rarely have them.
So Santana West is completely full now?
I want to be careful in case anybody publicizes it, but we are almost full.
Okay.
I'm very happy about that.
And how do I get on the Peloton?
In the middle.
Yes, I wondered, now that the paid parking has started, how come nobody validates if you go to a restaurant or a spa or anything? None of the parking is validated.
Well, you get 2 hours for free, and the average shopper comes for 63 minutes. So the majority of people, it ends up being like 10 or 12% pay. I will tell you, the first week we went to it, our parking dropped about 9%, which was probably the 9% that came from across the street, parked for us for free, and now have left and freed those back up for customers. I think theater was the only one who came to us and talked to us about validation. I don't know if they actually implemented it, but it depends on which tenants come and talk to us. And on some of the new deals we're working on in late 25 and 26, there's 1 or 2 that have said, we'd like to do validation programs. How can we do it? And we're working through a program with them. Sir?
I was going to tee off on the validation because we did the theater one time. It was kind of sketchy because they gave us a QR code. They gave it to the guy, but it still wouldn't read. So I think they're still working on it. Hopefully it's
my apologies for technology, but we're trying.
But at least they validated. They said, hey, we do validate. Because
I know they approached us. I didn't know if they started the program.
Yeah, they did start.
Okay.
Hopefully they're kinks over it.
Yes, sir.
I think in the past you might have mentioned something about grocery. We're looking at that. Maybe this is like a year ago or so. Any updates on?
We don't have updates. We really would like to add Maybe a small, it probably wouldn't be a 50,000 foot Safeway. We don't have that kind of room. But we would like to add a grocer. We think it's important for our residents, the office users, and everybody else. We just haven't found that one. There's a couple in Southern California. We're trying to hunt down a little bit, see if they would come this far north. But it's on our radar screen, but we don't have one yet.
If you're looking for grocery names, I think Luke's Local would be a good one. I think they're mostly out in San Francisco, but
Okay.
they're small footprint, higher end groceries if you're looking for names that are more local in SoCal.
Yeah, there's another one, Molly Stone's, which is up there.
Yeah.
And in a past life, we had him as one of my tenants at another center, and we've talked to him. San Jose is just kind of a tweener. It's like people know of it and they like it, but they're just not sure that's the next market they want to go into. It's not as sexy as you think it is. But if you live here, you know there's a lot of jobs and money here, and people make a lot of money once they move here. It's getting them to move here the first time that's always tough. Yes, ma'am.
Just piggybacking off the parking, we used to be able to park at Splunk after hours for free. So is that ceasing or is that still?
That's in the parking program. So you can still park in Splunk after hours for 2 hours for free, and then after that you'd pay $1, I think. Two? And I don't have to pay. I don't get to park in those garages, by the way. I park in the apartment garages. Way, way, way in the back.
Can you try to get us a bookstore again?
Tough, really tough. I mean, we got the Amazon books and they closed the whole chain, and it was started as a bookstore. You know, you saw Barnes close down in South San Jose last week. You know, I love books. I probably buy a book every 2 weeks. I listen to an Audible every week. It's just, there's not enough of us customers buying the books, to be honest with you. But I'd love to get one.
Are you guys gonna be doing anything with the Century Theater? Is that part of the Santana West?
That is. So we lease from the Winchester House for 99 years where the Santana West Office Building is, where the huge parking garage is, where the Century Theater is, and across the street behind Winchester, which we let their people park in right now, but we actually control that lot too. Century 21 has been deemed historic. For a while we didn't know what to do with it, and probably in the last 9 or 10 months we've been looking at what would it take just to convert the whole thing into a usable building, and we've priced that out, and we're now talking to people in the market to see if we could get somebody interested in taking a building without changing the shape or the look or anything else. The inside can be all brand new, that's not historic, but the shape of the building is historic, and so we're starting to go out to the market to see if there's some people interested in that.
So friend of mine wanted me to ask about, are you doing another similar Santana Road now over at Westgate? I guess is that one of your properties as well?
We do own Westgate. Now, Westgate is a completely different animal. It used to be an enclosed mall. Way before I was here, it maybe was successful, but it really hasn't been since I've lived here. And so we've kind of turned it mostly outward. Some tenants do open to the inside, Target and Ross and stuff like that, but it's more of a strip center with some really nice restaurants. So we just put a Mendocino Farm and a Shake Shack there. Different animal and a different market. I mean, Costco's moving into that market, Whole Foods moving into that market. It's a little bit more big boxy than up here. So it's just, we really see it as two different markets. Long term, we'd like to put residential at a lot of our centers. We just don't have anything planned there, but we think it's a good complement for retail and food is having residential there. So,
There was just a online one. How was parking and circulation over the holidays? Were there issues with delays paying? Will this continue? Can free parking increase to 3 to 4 hours?
how was it over the holiday? I think okay. I mean, did you guys have any problems getting around Santana Row? We didn't hear any. Occasionally you'll get somebody who gets, like when they're coming in, get confused with the gate. They don't know it's gonna open right away, or maybe they don't have a license plate. If they don't have a license plate, it can't open because they can't identify you. Maybe that probably could back us up a little bit. Will this continue? Issues with delays in paying, will it continue? I'm not trying to answer that question.
Yeah.
Okay. Can the free parking increase to 3 or 4 hours? I can talk to management. We set 2 hours because that's what across the street had, was 2 hours free. So we set what we really did is it was reaction to what our neighbor did. We had to react to it. Otherwise, we just become the free parking for them, which, you know, we're not in the business to be doing that. So plus it hurts our customers not being able to find places to park. One more, and then I'm going to let Art take it back over for Christmas trees.
Does the same tenant own the parking lot of the old Safeway that was there? Or is that Valley Fair?
That's Valley Fair.
That's all Valley Fair?
Yeah, I don't think they have a plan for it. Again, I don't want to speak for Sue. We see each other occasionally. She actually lives at Santana Row in one of our apartment buildings. I think that they just, the lease ended for Safeway. Safeway reopened their store down on Winchester, and I think they're going to hold it for parking until they can figure out what they want to do with it. So, but thank you guys very much.
Digital art, I'm gonna have to go see that. Sounds pretty exciting. I mean, anytime someone says, hey, I wanna see digital art, I just go into robot mode. All right, enough of that. Christmas Eve. So this is actually our tree. We showed you different trees.
No, those are our trees.
Oh, those are still our trees. We only have one.
Yeah, but it's different angles, the same tree.
All right, different angles, same tree. But that's the team right there.
Kathy's not in that picture.
I know, Kathy's not. Kathy's right there. But that's the team. All right, moving on. All right, Abigail got sick. She's not here today, so her boss is here.
Hi. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna get your presentation up.
Thank you. All right, everyone. My name is Nara Baker, and I'm here from the Department of Transportation. And we're going to move away from Christmas trees to living street trees that we have in our city. So really excited to be here, so thanks for having me. So we have some bad news about trees in our city, but I'll follow it up with what we're doing to preserve our canopy. We have a new pest in town called the invasive shot-hole borer, and this borer brings with it a fungus called Fusarium that infects our trees and makes them sick, but we do have some treatments and things that we can do to protect our trees. So today we'll go into what invasive shot-hole borer is and the fungus that it comes with, a little bit of the history of this pest and disease here in California, how to identify the beetles, some susceptible tree species, and then what the city is doing in terms of planning and management to control this pest and protect our trees. And then I'll leave plenty of time for questions at the end. So firstly, we're luckily not the first city in California to deal with this pest and disease. So San Jose has been learning from the experts in Southern California. So I just wanted to shout out Beatrice, John, and Igor because we've worked with them very closely over the past several months so that we can have an effective response to the shot-hole borer in San Jose. So they've taught us 3 really important things. So number 1 is monitoring our trees is crucial. We have to learn what amplifier trees are, how to identify them, and then remove them so that we don't infect neighboring trees. So I'll talk more about that in a minute. And then we must treat moderately infested trees to protect our canopy. And this presentation is pretty science heavy with a lot of references, so I just wanted to put the references up in the beginning. So I didn't write any of this information. This is all coming from a lot of research from Southern California, primarily from the University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources. So if you want to learn more, these are some great resources to check out after the presentation. Great, so how did we get here? Where did the beetle come from? We are assuming that the beetles came to Southern California in packing material from Southeast Asia. So this is big pallets on large cargo ships, most likely. The beetles have been in California since 2003, but they were virtually undetected until 2012. So they had a lot of time to creep around and infect a lot of trees before the Southern California tree folks learned what they were what was going on with their trees. These beetles are now very well established in Southern California, so we're not ever anticipating to eliminate the existence of these beetles in California. Now it's about just management and protecting our canopy and treating the beetles as they spread. And so the beetles were detected in San Jose in the fall of 2023. And then the city, my team, started trapping and monitoring the beetles in the spring of 2024 to see where the beetles were and how far into our city the beetles had gotten. And then this winter, we've been surveying trees in all affected areas. And so we're going street by street, tree by tree, mapping all of the infected trees so that we can treat and monitor all street trees that are at risk. So here we have a picture of the beetles. They're really, really tiny. They're about the size of Lincoln's nose on the penny. So really hard to see. And then you see on the right a piece of wood, and they essentially tunnel into trees, and then they infect the fungus, and it spreads throughout the trees, and it cuts off the circulation of the tree's vascular system. So they're pretty nasty little creatures. So these are a couple other cross sections of the invasive shot-hole borer infested wood. You can see the little tunnels, and so on a normal branch, if you cut the branch, you won't see these tunnels, and then you'll know that your tree is not infected, or that part of the tree isn't infected. So the life cycle of the shot-hole borers is very unique. So we start at the bottom left, where the little cartoon of the tree is. So the first thing that happens is the female beetles fly in and attack healthy host trees. So they attack primarily healthy trees. A lot of pests take advantage of already declining trees, but these little beetles are pretty nasty, and so they go first to the healthy trees. So they tunnel into the trees, and the tunnels are called galleries, and they lay eggs in these tunnels. And the beetles are born with little parts on their backs that are full of the fungus, and so these beetles are born with the fungus. The fungus is their only food source, so they have a very good relationship with one another. And then unfortunately, the fungus is what begins to kill the trees. So the larvae feed on the fungus, and then all of the beetles mate with each other inside of the tree and make many, many more beetles. They can have about 5 populations of beetles in 1 year. So once they've filled up a gallery, the females leave that gallery or that tunnel, and they either burrow back into the same tree, or they go to a neighboring tree. They'll stay on the same tree for quite a while until that tree is filled up with many, many tunnels, and they no longer have a lot of healthy wood to tunnel through. So when the fungus and the beetles are inside of the tree, the fungus colonizes the wood beyond just the tunnels that they live in, and that's when the fungus starts to really kill the trees and cause a lot of damage. When the fungus is really prevalent in the tree, the fungus starts to cause branch dieback and sometimes tree mortality. Eventually, in the worst case scenarios, the host tree dies, and then the adult female beetles move on to the next tree. And they typically are pretty lazy, so they'll go to the next door neighbor's tree, another tree on the property, but if they do catch the right wind, they can travel with the right gust up to about 5 miles. So they can travel pretty quickly. So they don't like every type of tree, which is good news. There are 240 species of trees that can be attacked, but only 78 of those 247 can support the reproduction of the beetles. So some trees, they'll just get a couple hits of the beetle, but the beetles can't reproduce, and so they just die out or they go somewhere else, and the trees can pretty much recover from the initial attack if they're not a host species. And then here in San Jose, we have 15 common species that can be killed by the beetles. So these are mostly California native trees that are in the riparian areas or in the creeks. So our box elders, native sycamores, willows, London plane trees, which are non-native sycamore trees, and English oaks are common species that these beetles like, that we have, that are commonly in our canopy. And then once all of the species that I've listed have been attacked, then the beetles sometimes try out other flavors of trees to see what else they like. But what's pretty interesting is the Huntington Library in Southern California had an outbreak, and they have hundreds of trees from all over the world, and so the researchers in Southern California were able to observe and do a lot of research at a site with way more trees than we typically have in an urban forest population. And so they were able to really narrow down this list. So they were able to do that research for us so that now here in San Jose, we can really focus our response and approach. So here's the list of the reproductive host species that are commonly in San Jose. So the trident maple, big leaf maple, box elder, and Japanese maple are all different types of maple trees that are susceptible. American sweet gums, Palo Verde, California sycamore, London plane, which is non-native sycamore, cottonwoods, valley oaks, English oaks, castor bean, which is a shrub actually, and then a few different types of willows are the trees that we're most concerned with. So now that I've scared you all, panicked. We have been trapping the beetles to identify the extent of the beetle infestation since spring of last year. And so our first case was in North San Jose by the municipal golf course, and that is right along Coyote Creek. And so we set our first traps within a half mile of the creek, and then we've been expanding outward to figure out how dense the population of beetles is in different neighborhoods in San Jose. I did check the map that we've been live updating on a daily basis at the start of this meeting, and it looks like the closest confirmed case to this neighborhood is South Morrison Avenue off of the Alameda, so a little bit east of here still. So West San Jose so far has been much, much lower and really not affected. We're seeing most of the infestations in Council District 3 along the Coyote Creek. So that's where we've been focused on our surveying and testing so far. And then we have a great relationship with the County of Santa Clara, so they're processing all of our samples for us for free because there are, of course, a lot of lookalike species, so it can be a little bit tough to identify. And so we've sent a lot of tests to the lab to confirm the presence of the beetle. And then we're now performing visual inspections of trees, which is highly effective because our team is now trained to be able to identify the beetles. So we can go tree by tree and know how many trees are affected. And our surveying is focused on the host species because those are the ones that are going to continue to reproduce beetles. So what are we looking for? These beetles, there's one thing that is the same regardless of the tree species. So every single time these beetles enter a tree, they make an entry hole that's perfectly round, and it's exactly the size of the tip of a ballpoint pen. Just a cheap pen, no fancy ink pens. You just want a ballpoint pen, hold it up to the hole if you have burrowing holes in your tree. If it's bigger than the tip of a ballpoint pen, there's something else going on and you don't have to worry about this pest specifically. And then the fusarium, the fungus, does discolor the wood around the entry hole usually. We're usually seeing that in sycamores. In the maples, they mostly just burrow in and don't stain with the fungus. So here's a picture of what the holes look like on a sycamore tree. And in the neighborhoods where the beetles have been pretty present, in the spring and summer when the beetles were traveling, we were seeing the tiny little hole and then a big stain on the trees. So it's really visible on the sycamores in the spring and summer when the sap is flowing. Right now in the winter, we just have to find the tiny little holes because the rain has washed away the staining. Then we have the box elder. This species, they get just a little bit of like white around the area of the hole, and then maybe some frass or a little bit of sawdust where the beetles went in, but no staining. On the coast live oaks, which are our native evergreen oak trees, the beetles don't really go on the trunk of the tree like they do on all of the other species. They go on the outer branches and they make, they have staining also that's a little bit different than the sycamore. So it does take a trained eye, but there are slight differences in what the pest does to each of these species. So what's very, very important that we learned from Southern California, that the infestation severity needs to be taken into consideration. So with trees that are a low infestation, which is less than 50 holes on a tree, the only thing to do is to monitor the tree. For moderate infestations, the best thing to do is to treat trees with a fungicide to kill the fungus and an insecticide to kill the beetles. And that's done via trunk injection. And in order to do a trunk injection, you have to literally drill holes into the trunks of a tree, and that can cause other damage to a tree. And so you don't want to do trunk injections on low infestations because the tree may be able to recover on its own, and we don't want to drill holes unnecessarily into the tree because that could cause other issues. And then for heavy infestations or severe infestations, which is at least 150 entry holes, and then dieback in the canopy, so dead branches, for example, those are called amplifier trees, and those trees are so severely infested that they're going to continue to spread beetles, and those trees need to be removed, unfortunately. But from all of the thousands of trees that my team has surveyed this past few months, we have less than 10 amplifier trees that we've identified in the public right-of-way or along streets, so there are very few street trees that we've had to remove because of this pest. So although it's scary and it could be deadly, we do have a treatment plan, so we are avoiding removing as many trees as possible. And the vast majority of infestations have been low infestations. So we've identified about 50 trees that are moderately infested that we're going to treat, and the rest are just low infestations that we're monitoring. And we've decided the management matrix that we're using is from the University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources. And so it describes what you do with a species that's a reproductive host versus a non-reproductive host, and then the infestation level. So we're using this matrix to guide our management strategies on each tree. Then again, amplifier trees are trees with more than 150 entry holes. These trees are always reproductive hosts, and the badly infested trees produce thousands and thousands of beetles really quickly. And then once the beetles start to leave once the amplifier trees are in decline, and there's nothing to do to treat amplifier trees, they cannot recover. And the fear that we have is that the amplifier trees will pressure the trees around them to become infected as well. So we want to make sure that we're getting rid of the amplifier trees so that we're not losing the neighboring trees. So removal is the only treatment. And the other thing is that replanting after amplifier trees are removed is critical, and we would replant with a species that's not a reproductive host, because we are concerned about canopy loss, so we want to make sure we're replanting as quickly as we can. So this is a screenshot from our website. It's the City of San Jose's website, and then invasive shot-hole borer. So this is a public map for all to check out your property, or your address, your neighborhood, your friends' addresses, maybe closer to Coyote Creek. And so we have all trees that have been inspected have an infestation level of high, medium, low, or no infestation. And then we also have, on the parcel level, infestation status of confirmed negative, confirmed positive, or reported and pending inspection. And this is so that everyone's aware of the city's status on monitoring the pests. And so for all of the medium infestations, there's a note. If you click on each individual tree, you'll see the data about when the tree is pending treatment. And then you can also, we're getting a lot of reports about potential infestations, and so we wanted to track those as well so that folks know that specific properties are pending inspection. So that's how we're tracking and monitoring all of our infested trees. So wood management is very, very important. When we have infested wood, the trees need to be dealt with very specifically, because if the chips aren't ground, then the beetles can travel in the downed wood. So it's very important to grind out the entire stump and surface roots, because if you leave the stump, then the beetles can continue to repopulate even in just the stump itself. So the most effective thing to do is to chip the wood chips down to 1 inch. That kills 99% of the beetle population in a single tree. But if you can get the wood chips down to 3 inches, that kills about 98% of the beetles. And then for a total kill, you have to compost or solarize chips. And then in highly infested areas, such as the Coyote Creek riparian area, where we have hundreds of infested trees in the creek, the recommendation is to chip down to 3 inches and then spread the beetles on site, because traveling the wood to a different facility could risk the greater area in transit. And so the city works with tree contractors who do this work. So if anyone has an infested tree, we can connect you with resources to get the wood processed properly. So in summary, what now? We are identifying and inventorying all amplifier trees in our waterways. We are working on quantifying the number of street trees that need to be treated. We've secured funding for treatment, and removals is still ongoing. We're performing outreach and education to inform the community that the beetle has arrived and needs to be managed. And then we are removing all amplifier trees as soon as possible. And then we are starting the trunk injections for the treatments on the moderately infested trees this spring. So I know that's a lot of information, so ishb.org has a lot more information on the pest and specific ways to manage the wood, different species that are affected, all sorts of good information if you want to learn more. And then the city's website also has information specific to San Jose. So now I'm happy to take any questions about the beetle or just street trees in general. Yes?
Do they like citrus trees? I got
Citrus trees are not desirable to them. Yeah. The lemons are safe. Yeah.
How long does it take if you go from low infestation to high infestation?
It depends on the number of beetles in the area, really. So we'll be monitoring all of the low infestations on an annual basis.
Do they fly from tree to tree, or do they crawl?
Yeah. The females fly, the males die in the trees. It's just the truth. Yeah, in the back?
Does the beetle attack only live trees?
Yes.
The stack of wood?
Not stacks of wood. No.
You said that low infestation sometimes only needs to be observed. So what keeps it low infestation? I would imagine once it starts.
Sometimes the beetles just, instead of going back into that tree, they'll go somewhere else, or there's just a natural defense that that tree puts up. But in general, they stay pretty local.
Is there any treatment that like plug up the hole and smoke them out, or?
No, unfortunately
Termite
not.
treatment?
Yeah, the best treatment is the insecticide and fungicide combination, because then the chemicals flow throughout the whole tree and they get to all parts of the tree. And so we treat in the spring when the sap is flowing the most. If you do it when the trees are dormant, then the treatment doesn't flow through the whole tree. Yeah, so spring and summer we'll be treating with the trunk injections.
So if your tree let's say you don't know it, but your tree's infected and you cut down part of it, and let's say you're a wood burner and you just stack it next to your house, that's bad, huh?
Yeah, because then the beetles will go to your neighbor's tree or another tree on your property. And so the most important trees really to inspect are the street trees and trees that are close to the riparian areas. I know we're kind of close to the Guadalupe here, but with a little bit of distance, so this neighborhood's a little bit more protected than others, but once the trees are in the street tree population, they can fly. The box elder trees are the most susceptible, but the sycamores are our most common street tree, so we'll probably see these beetles mostly in sycamores.
And there's no preventive, like you can't spray anything on it, nothing?
Unfortunately, nothing preventative has been identified.
There you go.
Looking for any volunteers to help inspect?
Yes, but we're not looking for one-time volunteers because it does take a trained eye. So if somebody has, 15 hours a week, 10 to 15 hours a week, then let us know and we're happy to train you up. We're also working with our City Forests AmeriCorps members to do some surveying, and we're also looking to get the Conservation Corps on board to do inspections for us as well. And there have been a few community members that have reached out, and then nobody's really been that excited about it once they go through the training. which is okay. There are so many other things that people can be involved with. And then also we're doing community meetings not just neighborhood by neighborhood, but we do monthly Zoom sessions. Our next Zoom will be the 13th from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. You can register on our website as well. Or if your neighbors couldn't attend, it'll be a similar presentation to tonight. Yeah.
So I noticed on the list, there were some maples, but not all maples. Are they that discerning? Because we
Yes.
have a maple that's not on the list. So.
They're very discerning.
Okay.
But it's still good to monitor. It doesn't mean they wouldn't try to attack the trees. Yeah. And the other thing to note is that we're the Department of Transportation, so we oversee street trees. Private trees are private property owners' responsibilities. So if you do have trees on private property, I recommend hiring an arborist. And if you have questions about street trees, reach out to our office and we'll come inspect the trees. Great, thanks so much.
All right, something to look forward to, huh? So as we do sell Christmas trees as a fundraiser, we sold 87 this year. So, why did you say
85?
Well, okay, so there was a mistake. We ordered 85 and they delivered 95. And I was like, and the thing is, we had pre-sold 80, and I told St. John, I said, hey, I can sell 5. That's pretty easy, because people always come up to me and say, hey, do you still have any left over? And 5 is easy. 15, very hard. Very hard. So we only did 2 more than the 5, right? I did 87. Look, a quick story before we, and I know it's cold in here. I think they turned the AC on. I don't know. Just hold tight for a second. Kathy Moe in the back, she always buys a tree and she donates, and she tells me if there's anyone that can't afford a tree and just comes up to you and says, hey, can I have a free tree? She says, give it to that person. And so as the time went on, you know, we started at $40 after Thanksgiving. Then I cut it down, a couple weeks go by and I cut it down to $20. And then 2 days before Christmas, I said, just take them. I don't want any more. It's $0. And this person calls up and says, hey, I want a tree. And I said, okay, well, here's my address. He goes, well, can we meet at Valley Fair? And I said, oh, all right, I'll go to Valley Fair. So I put it in my van. I drove down to Valley Fair. Well, the guy was taking the bus. So, and I met him. It was an Indian couple, and it was their first Christmas. I was like, I don't know what Christmas is. And I said, well, here's your tree. And he goes, well, what do I do with it? I said, well, you got to put it in a stand, and you got to put water in it, and it's all wrapped up with string. You got to cut the string. And he goes, where do I get a stand? I go, Santana Rose probably just, you know, try hardware store or something like that. So he took the tree and he walked to Santana Row, going to go shopping, holding a Christmas tree. I'm like, oh, and I offered, I said, look, I'll drive you home. It's not a big deal, but he was into it. He was like, no, I want to buy it. So and we do this, and this year the trees came out great. I know some people complain, hey, my tree was small, it was like 5. They're always minimum 5 feet. But this year, they were 6 feet or more. They were good trees. So you never know. But just keep that in the back of your mind. We have our trees. Now, we're all set, right? Did you have the winners for this year? Did you show it?
No.
Oh.
You got to do the thing. You can't show it. The thing.
What's the thing?
The thing is the whole thing. It's the thing.
Oh, all right. So this is our holiday showcase. This is the process we go through. There's 5 areas. We have 5 judges, and they have to pick, each judge in their area picks a house and a tree that they like. So the 5 judges are, well, you can barely read it. Kathy Moe, Ben White, me, Kelly McDonald, and Charles Honea. So these were the judges. We went to our areas and we picked. Okay, next slide. The photographer was Layman Gong. Is she here? I don't see her. But she went around and took pictures of everything. So these pictures are from her. So best overall house and the best tree is our deciding factors.
So these are there's 5. You're going to see the 5 finalists.
Okay, these are the 5 finalists for the houses.
This one. Right. This one. Yeah. This one.
And the winner is 2301 Newhall. All right, and then we do, best trees. So here are the 5 trees.
And it doesn't have to be a Christmas tree.
It doesn't have to be our Christmas tree. It can be, you don't have to buy it from Cory to submit. As you can tell, that does not work.
It's not really even a tree, it's just a... All right, and the winner is... Dun, 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 2268 Are the winners here tonight? All right, well, they get a gift certificate, $50 for Cynthia in a row. So we'll be delivering that to them. Okay, so that's our holiday showcase, and that was, if you could please stand up.
Yeah.
Our manager of this project was Rita Crawford, right here.
I had so much fun. What a great neighborhood. Everybody participated. All these houses were decorated. Next year, I'd like to see just as many. I have a couple of things you need to remember. Turn your lights on so that the judges can see all these things. And see if you can't put on your house or your curb your street number, because a lot of the places we couldn't see what the actual address was. But thanks to all our judges, our photographer, it was just the most wonderful, exciting thing to do over the holidays.
All right. All right, these are the Cory board members. And we do have, Scott brought us 4 gift certificates. So, and you have to be here to win, and I know it's cold, so we whittled it down. So, what I will do, you got some too. All right. What's our range from 1 to what?
89.
Siri, pick a number from 1 to 89.
It's 25.
25. John Kavanaugh, I know him.
Oh, John.
Oh, I played disc golf with him, and I'm going to be playing tomorrow. I'm going to tell him. Oh, John, you missed it. That's funny. All right. Siri, pick a number from 1 to 89.
That would be 11.
11.
John Eggins.
John Eggins. Eggers? John Eggers?
Oh, here we go.
Hey.
All right, you made it.
All right. Siri, pick a number from 1 to 89.
The answer is 48.
48. You were 46. Patrick Connor.
Nobody's.
I was joking. You remembered your number?
Yes.
Holy cow. All right.
All right, Patrick.
Oh. That's all right. I didn't mean to burst your bubble on that one. Pick a number from 1 to 89.
It's 52.
What was it?
52.
Linda
Linda O'Neill?
O'Neill?
Any Lindas here?
2, 4, 5. Kenwood? Holy cow, Linda, you gotta improve your writing. Linda, any Lindas here? Oh, I know it's not you. All right, that's right, you're Linda too. All right, well, Siri, pick it up from 1 to 89.
It's 78.
78.
What was it?
78.
Soon Roderick.
Oh, Kevin left. Ms. Roderick, his wife. Oh, Kevin, I'm going to pick on him the next board meeting. He left early. Oh, that is hilarious. Pick it up from 1 to 89.
It's 14.
14.
14. This one? 14.
Yep.
Soon
Soon Isuk
on Peachtree.
on Peachtree. Soon. Everyone's leaving. What's up with that? Pick 1 to 89.
I didn't get that.
You're cold, I get it. Pick a number from 1 to 89.
The answer is 15.
15. And
Oh,
O. And O?
oh, Peachtree.
Oh, come on.
Come on, Siri.
Can't get
Pick a number from 1 to 89.
It's someone that's here.
It's 39.
39.
39. Tony.
Tony Arroyo?
There
Tony!
we go.
Oh, Tony's here, finally. Pick a number from 1 to 89.
It's 75.
75.
Art Ballison.
Art Balazin.
Yeah. All right. Stuck with it, Art.
All right, now we have, how much are these? $25 at Italy. Oh, is that what better? Pick a number from 1 to 89.
You get it.
Oops, I turned it off. Pick a number from 1 to 89.
That would be 43.
43.
Lindy Hayes.
Lindy, there you go.
Lindy!
We know you.
Thank you very much.
Pick a number from 1 to 89.
That would be 43.
Wait, didn't we do that one?
Wasn't that just 43?
Pick another number from 1 to 89.
The answer is 36.
36.
43.
No, that's 76.
Oh, 76. Sorry.
Wait a minute. No, wait a minute.
Shidlin.
No, 36. Up there, there it is.
Rich.
One.
WLUM.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Who is anybody here registered on our website? Get our emails that get sent out? One person? Okay. Three. All right. I encourage you to do that. We send updates about the neighborhood. You just go to coryneighborhood.org and there's a little enter your email address, click sign up. We're not going to spam you with a bunch of stuff. We manage it privately. It's not outsourced. And like we will give you the agenda of our next meetings. If there's a developer meeting that you should know about, if there's a community meeting, we'll send it through that avenue as well.
We're also trying something new. We have this QR code on the flyer, and if you scan it with your phone, you can send in questions. And you saw when every speaker would say, "Hey, we got a question for you," because people sent them in. So we're trying to get feedback before the actual meeting. What's that? Yeah, it's on the flyer right here. Yeah, it says scan QR code for questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we'll clarify that.
All right. Well, we'll make it better next time.
Yeah.
Understood. All right. Make a little announcement. All right.